All right, today we're going to be talking about the verb ser, which means to be, and subject pronouns. We're going to be talking about how subject pronouns play into the verb conjugation chart in order to conjugate the verb ser, and also this will play into how to conjugate other verbs later on in the future. Pronouns are words that take the place of nouns. Nouns are people, places, things, or ideas. Subject pronouns are basically the pronouns that are the subject of the sentence, and it indicates who is being described or who does the action in any given sentence. The verb ser means to be. So if you wanted to say in Spanish, I am, or you are, or he or she, or it is, this is the verb that you would use for now. Let's take a closer look at the subject pronouns before we get into conjugating the verb ser. These are the subject pronouns. We have a subject pronoun chart that looks like this. Okay. Notice that the left side of the chart is going to be the singular side, while the right side of the chart is plural. Okay. On the left side, we have the first person singular, the second person singular, the third person singular. On the right side, we have the first person plural, the second person plural, and the third person plural. For now, we're not going to discuss much about the second person plural, so you can go ahead and skip that. For now, we are just focusing on the subject pronouns. So, in order to say I in Spanish, you would say yo, okay? In order to say you would say tú. But here's the thing. In Spanish, there are two ways to say you, but in English, there is not. You have the tú, which is the familiar form, which would be anything like any person that you would be talking to that's either your age or that you're familiar with, that you're friends with. But this word right here, usted, it means you, but it's in a formal situation. It's kind of like if you were to use the word usted, it's almost as if you would add the word sir after it, kind of like you, sir, or you, ma'am. Okay? We have the word él, which means he, and ella, which means she. All of this is singular. So then, whenever the yo gets involved, it moves over with something else. It moves over to the plural side. That's why we have nosotros. And then the tú would get involved, but we're not worried about that. And then the plural of usted is ustedes. The plural of él is ellos. And the plural of ella is ellas. Let's look a little bit deeper at this. So to make this more clear, I drew the chart, and this chart right here will be what you use throughout Spanish 1, Spanish 2, Spanish 3. This is how you would conjugate verbs. So basically what you need to know is this. This is the singular side of the chart, while this is the plural side. Okay. So to say I, you say yo. To say you, in a familiar sense, you say tú. To say he, you say él. Notice it has a tilde. To say she, you say ella. And then to say you in a formal situation, you say usted. This is the abbreviation for usted. So, like I said earlier, if the yo gets involved with anyone else or something else, you would use the word nosotros. But if it's all girls, you would say nosotras. Okay? So that's a difference in English and Spanish, because in English we just say we. But in Spanish, if there's all girls involved and not a single male, you say nosotras. If there's at least one male involved, you say nosotros. Now, if you were to look at the plural of él, this would be ellos. This would be for if there are all guys, or if at least any one guy is involved, it would be ellos. If only girls are involved, you would say ellas, and this would mean, both of these mean they. And then you have usted, the plural of that is ustedes, which this is the abbreviation as well. So let's look at what these mean in English one more time. Yo means I, tú means you, él means he, ella means she, usted means you in a formal situation, nosotros means we, the ellos and ellas, both of these mean they, while ustedes means y'all. which is the plural of you, right? Hey, you all. So, based on what we just talked about, take a second and try to complete this chart based off what you've learned, okay? Pause the video and try to fill in the different spots with the different subject pronouns in Spanish. When you are finished, unpause the video so that we can go over the answers. So, these are the answers right here. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, nosotras, ellos, ellas, ustedes. So if you're looking at this is basically what I want you to understand. I want you to understand that these are the different spots for the subject pronouns. Because when we get into conjugating the verb ser here in a second, we are not going to write the word yo. We're actually going to write the conjugation. So I want you to get to the point where you can look at this chart without the different spots filled in and know what goes in each section. Let's look at it. This right here. Hopefully this makes sense to you because we utilize yo. For example, you should be able to look at this chart by the end of this lesson and be able to say, oh, that spot right there, that's the yo spot, or that's the tú spot, or this is the el, ella, usted spot, or this is the nosotros or nosotras, or the ellos, ellas, ustedes, without having to write the different subject pronouns out. And this is why. We have the verb ser, which means to be. And the way we conjugate verbs is we take the verb and we conjugate it into the different spots. So I'm going to go ahead and help you out. Yo soy. Tú eres. Él, ella, usted es. Nosotros somos. Ellos, ellas, ustedes son. So the whole thing is this. We know the fact that this is soy, that it's in the yo spot, which will show us that it is yo soy, which is I am. Or since the eres is in the tú spot, it's tú eres, which means you are. Same thing here, es. It could mean he is, it could mean she is, it can mean you, in a formal situation, are, or it could even mean it is, based off of the location in the verb conjugation chart. The same thing for nosotros, and it's the same thing for ellos, ellas, and ustedes son. I want you to be able to look at this chart and know almost what lies behind it. This chart and say, hey, right behind this spot. So what I want you to do right now is this. I want you to take a second and try to fill in the chart in your brain with subject pronouns. Then I want you to conjugate the verb ser, which means to be, in each blank. I'll go ahead and get you started. For the yo spot, right here, it would be soy. Go ahead and finish out the rest of this conjugation chart. When you are, go ahead and pause it. When you are finished, unpause it so that you can see the answers. Okay, so these are the answers. In the top left box, it would be yo soy. You don't necessarily have to write the yo because it's in the yo spot, and we know that yo soy means I am. For eres, it's in the tú spot, so we know it means you are, and that's an informal situation where you know the person. For es, there are technically four different options. He is, she is, or even it is, or it could be you are. Somos is we are, nosotros somos, or they or y'all are would be ellos, ellas, ustedes son. So hopefully you've learned a little bit about how to conjugate the verb ser, which means to be, using the verb conjugation chart and subject pronouns.